Welcome to the AdSense Flippers Podcast. Are you sick and tired of gurus who have plenty of ideas but are short on substance? Worried that ebook you bought for $17.95 won't bring you the personal and financial freedom you long for? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others in their pursuit of niche profits without the bullshit. Straight from your hosts, Justin and Joe of AdSense Flippers.
Welcome to episode 18 of the AdSense Flippers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Cook, and I'm here with my business partner extraordinaire, Joe Magnotti. What's up, Hot Money?
Hello, everybody. My chin's a little bit sore, but I'm going to try to tough it out through this podcast.
Yeah, he got smacked in a boxing session today. We got to get that video up on Facebook, man. We're also here with John, the intern. John, what's up, man?
Not much, man.
I like your shirt, running sucks. It definitely does. The heart of this week's episode is going to be all about quality questions and actionable answers. We had a webinar last week where we got some really interesting questions that we weren't able to get to. We wanted to get to those in this podcast. But first, we've got some news and updates. First up, we've got some new iTunes reviews, buddy.
Yeah, hit me up.
All right, so the first one comes in from Kyle-ish. He says, fantastic. Can you do this daily? What a pump up I get from you guys. You could be the morning coffee. Rock on. Rock on indeed, sir.
I don't know if we could do it daily, though, Justin. That would be quite a lot.
Sweet Lord. We wouldn't be building any niche sites. We'd be podcasting masters, though, right? Second update we've got, or the second iTunes 5-star review we've got, comes from Brad in Charlotte. Said, these guys are the real deal. Love your podcast and your site. Your announcer sounds like the guy that used to do the intro to Winamp, kicking the llama's ass. Keep up the good work.
Charlotte's a great town. Love that place.
Yeah, so stoked to have another 5-star iTunes review, man. We're getting a lot of those. I'm really stoked about it.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Also want to mention, we're almost up to 200 Facebook fans on our Facebook page. Check that out, facebook.com/AdSense Flippers. We'd love for you to be our 200th fan.
All right, so the next bit of news is the niche site guide is done.
Yeah, buddy, good job on that.
I bet you're happy about getting that thing done, huh?
I'm so glad to be finished with it. I mean, it was cool and it was fun to make, but when these people read that, you're reading 300 hours of my life right there. So hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah, by the time this podcast is on air, we should have Building a Niche Site Empire ready to rock and roll. We will have a link to it in the show notes as well. Next point, what you got, Joe?
Oh, we sold some sites this last week. We had a big customer come in, buy 70 sites all at once. We sold about 10 sites on the buyer sites page, so been moving a lot of sites, making some money. I love selling sites, Justin. You know what? I just get a kick out of getting those emails that we sold a site, following up the customer, the post-sales support. I just like doing it.
It's cool, man. It's fun because you hear the little, the email thing coming in from PayPal. Ding, ding. Every single time you're like, wow, dude, we're making money right now. That is sick.
It is.
Love it, buddy. So next thing is we've been doing a lot of interviews lately, both here locally in Davao City and through Virtual Staff Finder remotely, and also through Odesk. It looks like we're getting a lot of successful people now coming in that are potentially content managers for us, and they can really help drive our content forward. That's really important for our business, especially as we look to build like different types of sites. We really want to be content heavy in the future, and I see that really being a goal for AdSense Flippers and lots of our other businesses that we're building.
Yeah, we got 7 or 8 interviews lined up this week already, and it's still Monday. So I imagine by the time you guys read this, we will have hired 1 or 2 more people, hopeful to expand the team to a couple more by the end of April. And once we get that done and rolling, we have to improve our content process.
It's so funny, man, that we hired a second person now, or we are hiring a second person right now through Virtual Staff Finder. I really would recommend their service. This is the second time we've used it, and we're outsourcers. We interview Filipinos on a regular basis. We've interviewed hundreds here locally. So, the fact that 2 times out of 2 we were able to get quality people from Virtual Staff Finder is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just nice to have somebody to go through the resumes and qualify candidates for you before you interview them. Yeah, I guess we could train our agents to do that, but Virtual Staff Finder does it for us, and they get us nice qualified applicants, so it works out well.
All right, enough of a pitch for Virtual Staff Finder. Let's get right into the heart of this week's episode, which is all about quality questions with actionable answers.
The AdSense Flippers Podcast.
I'm really stoked about this week's episode because I love the Q&A from webinars. We can really dig into the meat and potatoes or real questions from some of our listeners or readers. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's more interactive, and that's why this format's going to be a little bit different for this podcast. We're going to have John ask the questions, and we're going to kind of free form it. You and I, sometimes we'll debate the answers when we don't agree, and sometimes, of course, we'll just get it out there.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. We're going to break this up into several different sections because there are quite a few questions. First section is like business marketing. Second section is keyword research. Third would be content. Fourth would be link building. Then we've got buying, selling websites. And the last would be scaling. So let's get right into it. John, what's the first question?
All right, cool. The first one comes from Brandon P. from Texas. And he wanted to know, he said, why do this? Why invite the competition? What value do you have to gain by helping us compete with you?
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is that we know that there are going to be some people that compete with us, right? That's it. We're inviting that. But the truth of the matter is that most people aren't going to act, right? Over 90% of people aren't going to do a thing. They're not going to build one site. They're not going to do anything.
They're going to download this 75-page guide and they're going to go, oh my God, I'd rather just buy the sites.
Yeah, well, some people are going to do that, right? Others are going to actually try it and they're going to do it and they're going to like it. They're going to build some sites. Some of them may have success. Some of them may not. But they're going to try the process out. For the ones that build sites and find success, they're going to appreciate the fact that we showed them what we're doing and gave them some ideas or guidelines to follow to get there, right? So if they like it and they like us, they're going to promote us. They'll link to us. We can chit chat back and forth. Hopefully they can come up with improvements in our process that actually make the sites better long term, right? So I think that's something that really helps us and ultimately will help them in their site building as well.
All right, let's go on to the next question. This one's from Kyle P. from the United States. And he says, great detail in the guide. How can we help to compensate you guys?
Well, you can send us some money. Here's my PayPal email address. No, just kidding. Guide is free, obviously. Of course, you can buy some of the tools or products we recommend in the guide. A lot of those are affiliate links, so you can purchase those. That would help us out, of course, only if you think it'll help your business. But most importantly, I think, is I'd like to get this spread around. So I'd like you to tweet it. I'd like you to pass it on via Facebook. I'd like you to email it to other friends that you think are in the industry or that would like to build niche sites. I think that's the best way to do it because a lot of these people that pay for like junk information or they charge for junk information rather, I mean, things like this help put them out of business and I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I'd love to have people pay it forward, right? If they could spread the word about AdSense Flippers and what we're doing here and we get more visitors to the site, more people communicating with us, then that will just build the whole process. And it's all free and we're all helping each other, so that benefits everyone.
Yeah, and that really helps us too to help expand our brand, right? So we continue to pump out really good stuff for free and we expand our brand, our audience, our reach, and that type of thing. So if you want to compensate us, give it away for free.
All right, super cool. All right, next one's from Phil V from London, and he wanted to know, like, at what stage is it appropriate to be starting an LLC, for example? And then he also wanted to know about taxes with AdSense income.
Yeah, I would say, don't worry about setting up an LLC in the beginning. Don't worry about setting up a corporation and taxes and all that stuff. Just make sure you have a nice approved AdSense account, even if it's only a personal AdSense account, and get through the process of setting up a few sites. Make sure you can get them ranked and earning. And once you understand that, then you can worry about all that business stuff.
Yeah, what if you're building, 5, 6, 10 sites and you go, I hate this. I don't want to do this. It's making me a little bit of money, but it's just lame. I want to do something else. Like you went through this whole process of setting up an LLC and spending this money and this time. Plus, I think a lot of people will get lost in the business, like the admin aspect of it, and not really focus on the revenue-driven aspect. People do that with logos and setting up their corporations. Don't be that guy, right? Don't do that.
We talk about that all the time, and it's just so true in this case. I want to see you set up a few sites and not worry about the business stuff.
Yeah, make some money. Until the business can pay for your business license and setting up your corporation or LLC, don't even worry about it.
To address the taxes thing directly, I am not a tax advisor, but yes, you have to pay taxes on AdSense income.
All right, Phil also wanted to know how many hours you guys work per week and then what you do to unwind.
Sweet Lord, how many hours per week? I mean, I don't know, it's pretty broken up. We spend some of our time on the outsourcing business, but most of our clients there are kind of running like clockwork. I spend a considerable amount of my time on brand building, creating content, reaching out to other people in the industry. So that's probably the most of my time. I'd say I probably work some weeks, 40 hours and some weeks 70, 80 hours. Recently it's been more in the 70, 80 hours probably.
Yeah, I was doing a computation of my hours the other day after I saw this question. I work about 50 hours a week, but I use a breakup period every day where I go and work out for 2 or 3 hours. It really helps me get through the long days.
To unwind, we really use some of the cheap things you can do here in the Philippines. So like, I'll run off and get a foot and head hand massage for like $8 for like an hour and a half. Listen to a podcast, just kind of hang out, chill. There's a bunch of places to go here in Davao City that we can hang out. Plus, in the Philippines, it's relatively cheap to hop a flight and be on a beach. So when I need to get away, I need to unwind, I'll basically tell Joe I'm out of here, man. Hey, I need a break. I'm taking my girlfriend. We're going wherever for a week on the beach, and I just need to chill the hell out. So, and we're cool like that. I put in really intense hours and then take a break, and that's just the way we roll.
All right, next question's from Bill Walsh from Detroit, and he wants to know how you stay focused and avoid the shiny object syndrome.
It's a good question. I wrote a post about this not that long ago about staying focused and making sure that you don't overanalyze something or read too much into something. There's a window of opportunity you have when you're researching a new subject, where if you research enough to get started, that's great. But if you continue on, right, you'll get past the point at which you'll actually take action. And I think people that have the shiny object syndrome don't even get to the point where they know enough to actually take action on it, or they get past it, start thinking about the negatives or the potential of it not working, and then, here's the next thing. Here's the next thing.
Yeah, I would say staying organized, breaking down your objectives into tasks, and then sticking to that schedule, at least for the foreseeable future. See things through. Don't just switch horses all the time. Justin and I talked about this with you, John. Remember, switching your objectives or your business strategy in the middle of the month, not a good idea.
Yeah.
We decided on a strategy on April 1st. This is what we're going to focus on, and that's what we're going to focus on until May 1st.
It's good not to be pig-headed about it, right? To where you're this is the strategy I determined for the year. This is what I'm going to do all year. No. But if you have a general strategy, you don't let one day or a couple of speed bumps get in the way of you meeting your objectives. You have to meet your objectives. That's your entire point, right?
Okay, so if I'm a new business guy, how do I know when to throw in the towel and when to keep plowing forward so I can keep my momentum going? And when do I know that?
Well, if I could answer that question, I'd be a billionaire, John, right? When do you pivot? When is it a good time to turn and change your strategies or continue forward? Seth Godin talks about this in his book, The Dip. Basically, it's a good idea to say no to lots of projects. Unless, Derek Sivers mentions this too, a hell yes or a no. Don't start a new project unless you feel very confident about it. And once you start something, knock it out of the park, right? So don't even bother pivoting because you love the idea. There are some ideas I've taken on that I was so intense about that I absolutely would not stop. But I have to feel that way about it to be able to see it through the dip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, AdSense Flippers is kind of a good example of that because you guys definitely went through that in the beginning, right?
Yeah, definitely. The first, couple of months were pretty miserable, and it was a struggle, right? Our blog, we weren't getting much traffic, weren't making much money. It kind of sucked.
But again, I'll bring it back to organization. We stayed organized, we stayed on plan, and we stuck with it, and it's been successful.
All right, next question. This one's from John Daniels from Wyoming, Michigan, and he wants to know what kind of income would you consider to be doing well?
Yeah, an average per month per site or whatever. It doesn't really depend on your process. So, if you're Spencer from Niche Pursuits, right, you'd need probably 50, 60, 70 bucks a month to be doing well. And that's based on his spend, right? So it all comes down to ROI. For us, we consider a site doing well if it's making more than $10 a month, which is about our average. Now, our really good sites are making, anywhere from $60 to $250 a month. And our losers that aren't that bad are making a couple of bucks a month.
Yeah, I think we should distinguish the difference between doing well and being profitable. I mean, we could have sites that just make as much as $4 or $5 a month, and it's profitable.
Yeah, it's making us money. We can just sit on that site, till the cows come home and just collect on that revenue.
Yeah, it pays for more than the hosting, more than the domain name, and makes back the money that it costs to set it up. Therefore, it's profitable. Would I consider it a big win? Do I want a lot of those sites? No. I want the $10 or more sites because that's what people are interested in buying.
Cool. Next question's from Brandon P. from Texas. And he was saying for new people, this is kind of a market size question. Is there still room out there for new niche site builders to really make a name for themselves and to really grow their businesses?
I think so. There are people obviously Niche Pursuits and us out there doing the niche site, especially when it comes to AdSense. But I think this marketing model can be applied to a host of other things. It doesn't even have to be niche sites with AdSense. You could do it with Amazon sites. You could do it with blog networks. Well, I don't know if you do blog networks now, but you can do it with lots of different things, not just niche AdSense sites.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be internet marketing either. This whole idea of building a brand and then just talking about what you're doing as you're doing it and give that information away for free, I think that's a very interesting way to approach the problem and build an audience for what you're selling.
All right, next one's from Carl from Georgia, and he wants to know who did your AdSense Flippers logo with the cool guy with the surfboard.
Well, to be straight up, we've taken a little bit of grief for that one, man. Someone was beating us up about our cartoony logo, but we got it done on 99 Designs. We love 99 Designs for this. Crowdsourcing your creative stuff, I think is fantastic. Now, designers hate 99 Designs. It's not really their thing, but I'm not a designer. I don't care. I'm a business guy. I just want a design done.
Yeah, designers hate it because it's called spec work, and basically that means doing things for free until someone likes it and then pays for it, and they don't like that. But as a business owner, especially business owners that are not very good designers, we don't have much creative skill, Justin and I. We love things like 99 Designs because we get so many ideas from it.
Our first logo was actually done by Fiverr. I paid for 3 gigs, picked the one I liked the best, and we ran with it. Put the blog up straight out of Woo Themes, out of the box, and just set it up. Because we want to test the concept first, right? I think that's most important. We didn't spend hardly any money, $15 on our logo. And then we went back, and I think it was like maybe $200 or $300 finally we paid for the logo, so.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next one, I like this name, is from Crunk from USA. What kind of visa do you have to live and work in the Philippines?
Well, you don't really need much of a visa to live and work in the Philippines. You could be on a tourist visa forever. I mean, we know people who have been here for 13 years on a tourist visa. They make their money online, or they make their money from their wife's business or something like that. They never worry about it at all.
It's not as strict as like Thailand, where you can't really talk about the fact that you're working, and it may be problematic if you're on a tourist visa. It's not like that in the Philippines at all. It's kind of like the Wild West out here. You come out here, you make money, people leave you alone.
Now, I happen to be on what's called an SVEG, a special visa for employment generation, because we have a corporation that employs more than 10 people. Justin and I are both eligible for that.
I had one, man. I had my SVEG until I didn't. I downgraded back to tourist because I don't even want to get into it, but a whole host of things where they basically said it was no longer available. Now it's available again, and I don't know. I'm pretty disturbed by the whole process, honestly. But right now I'm on tourist visa. It's not an issue at all.
Again, yeah, I would just say it's something not to focus on.
Yeah, the tourist visa is pretty painless. You go down there every 60 days and spend your 3 hours in immigration. Done, right? All right, so Brian from Miami, he wanted to know if you guys broker websites for others. And what about starting a marketplace if you don't know?
We do not broker websites for others right now. The reason for this is it's just not really a game we want to get into. We'd make a small percentage. Even if we took a larger percentage on the earnings, I'd rather sell my own sites, right? I mean, I'm going to make more money doing that. Second, it's really hard to verify whether the site is legitimate, whether the AdSense clicks are real. Maybe they paid for a Fiverr gig to get clicks, or who knows what they did with the sites. So it would be a vetting process each and every single time, and that's really not something we wanted to get into as far as brokering. But if you do have broker deals where you do want to sell your site, we do have brokers we can refer you to that we know and trust.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vetting process is not scalable, and we like scalable processes. So the idea of having our agents vet the people, I don't know, that would be tough. And so that would mean that a lot of our time would be invested in this process of talking to these sellers, these site sellers, and making sure they're legitimate. And that would be very tiresome and time consuming, I think.
We seriously considered the marketplace. I still love the idea because I think Flippa is full of there's a lot of junk on Flippa. You really have to dig through to find the good auctions and the good sellers. I think if we had one where even half of them were good, that would be useful. But at this time, it's not on the cards. We have a lot of other projects that are ahead of the marketplace. So the next section we're getting into is all about keyword research. What's the first question, John? Hit us up.
All right, this is from Chris M. from the United States, and he wants to know if you use SpyFu to evaluate advertisers.
I love SpyFu. I love it when we're doing keyword research and look up advertisers. You can see how many advertisers there are, what their ads were, how it moved from month to month. I think it's a great system. Don't go overboard. You don't have to look up every single keyword you research in SpyFu. But if you ever have a questionable one where the advertiser competition, you're not sure if it's a 3 or 4, or something looks odd about it, SpyFu is a great resource to look up.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't. The free version is good enough, and it gives you historical data on how many advertisers there are for the keyword too, so that's helpful.
All right, MB from Australia says, do you ever see where CPC from Google Keyword Tool and the actual CPC don't match up?
Absolutely, sweet Lord, all the time, unfortunately. Yeah, so we go after a keyword, and based on our, we have a niche site profit calculator that will give you an idea on what the keyword will be worth and how much the site will make. And then there are times where the CPC is way lower than we thought it would be. And it's almost always lower than we thought it would be than higher, right? I mean, sometimes a site is up there, but that's rare.
Yeah, we've seen it the other way, but yeah, I'd have to say most of the time the CPCs are messed up on the lower end, and I don't really have a good explanation for that, but it happens, and I would just say at scale, we kind of mix it into the failure rate of our site.
I have a pretty good answer for that, I think. Normally, you get paid, I think it's 68% of whatever the actual advertiser is paying. Now, when you do the Google keyword tool, it'll tell you what an advertiser would pay to be on the SERP, on Google SERP. But on the ad network, right, it's not that high. So it's going to be some percentage. It's going to be lower than what they're paying to be on the Google SERP itself.
That's a good guess.
I'm not a guess, buddy. It's better than a guess. I mean, lots of people talk about this. This is well researched and documented, I will let you know.
All right, Andrea T. from the United States says, what does phrase to broad match signify?
A crappy keyword. Really, I mean, kind of, right? Like phrase to broad, if it is under 10% in general, and this is from Market Samurai, this is their statistics, but if it's under 10%, it's probably a weirdly worded exact match phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. You see this all the time when you have the plural that doesn't make sense. You know, I'm trying to think of one right now.
Blue suede's shoes or something, like really kind of, it's oddly worded, and most people don't type in that phrase, but a few people do. So when you look at broad, right, it's not, there's a different phrase, an exact match phrase they use much more often, but that exact match phrase you're looking at is used less than 10% of the time. It means it gets so many searches that there are a few that are exact match for that, but it's not worth going after because you're targeting people that can't spell or, you know what I mean?
Right.
All right, Andrea also asked, do you think .com, .org, .net, are any of those any better than the others, and why do you only stick with those domains?
Definitely say .com is going to be the best.
For branding, for sure, right?
Yeah, and I don't know for sure, I don't have any statistical data to back this up, but I would say that .com is going to be better from an SEO's perspective too. I mean, I almost guarantee that it's going to get you better results in rankings than .org or .net.
I disagree with that a bit. I don't think a .com or .net or .org really matters all that much. We'll take any. I mean, a .com I think is definitely better for branding, but that's it. Now, why we only use a .com, .net, or .org? Here's our reasoning, right? We're finding enough keywords with .com, .net, .org available that we go after them. Now, there are plenty of people that have success with prefixes, suffixes. They use the keyword hq.com. They'll use, a .info, but it's just not our process. Honestly, we didn't start off with that, so we decided not to add that later on. It's not really something we wanted to explore.
Yeah, we did a little bit of testing in the .biz, .info, and dashes, and we just found that overall, those sites took a little bit longer than normal to come around. And we didn't want to mix in another factor into the process that we could say, well, this site's not ranking. Is it because it's a .biz? So, we like to simplify things, especially when you're doing them at scale, and that's why we say stick to the basics.
Here's something interesting. I actually went back and looked at our .infos and .biz URLs, and some of them, I think even on average, they performed better. Here's the weird thing is that I think but they didn't rank as well. The thing I think about it is that we were able to target keywords that are kind of more aggressive or more interesting or that were better when we went after .info or .biz, but that because there's more people targeting them, it's harder to get ranked. Right? So it's not something we added to our process. We may do it with authority sites or something, but we just don't use it now.
Cool. All right, next question is from Paul S. from Colorado Springs. He wants to know if you actually use brand names in your domains and if you've ever had a cease and desist.
We've definitely had several cease and desists, but not as many as you would think. I mean, with over 1,700 sites created, we've had less than 1% ever email us as a trademark violation.
I think 18 now. I think 18 out of a little over 1,700 sites.
Yeah, so it's not very many, and we have a process that we go through which basically complies with what they're asking for. We ask that you do the same. Make sure to follow up on your email, stay on top of it, because you don't want them to go after your hosting account or anything like that. But sometimes you can ask for money. You can ask for a moderate amount of money, a couple of $100, and sometimes they will even pay for you to be compensated for the domain.
Yeah, I would suggest, if it's a really potentially profitable keyword, we'll take it. We prefer non-branded domains, but we do pick them up. And I also state that, when we do get contacted, it's generally very early in the process. normally within the first 30 to 45 days of site creation. Only a few have been outside of that period. So it normally happens really early, and you'll know right away that that's not a domain. It's one that they aggressively target.
Okay, next one's from Cam, and he wants to know why you guys stopped using Market Samurai.
Well, I loved Market Samurai, huge fan. I still am. I really like kind of their interface. It seems like a really well put together keyword research tool. They spent a ton of money on it. The thing is, it just wasn't as effective as Longtail Pro. It's not as fast. It didn't get us the information as quickly as we needed it, and we do a hell of a lot of keyword research.
I thought it was the Adobe Air platform, but Longtail Pro is on the Adobe Air platform, and that's not the reason why. But Market Samurai is just so slow, it's unusable at this point. And if you're going to do keyword research at any sort of scale like we are, it's pretty much impossible.
It's too bad, too. I mean, if I had to choose the two, same speed, I would choose Market Samurai, no question. But as it stands, Longtail Pro, gets it done for us. So.
Okay, next question's from Brandon W. from New York. He wants to know if you buy sites that won't rank in the #1 spot, and then also if you factor that into your SEO value calculation.
I love this question because we do take an approach of risk versus reward, and that's kind of where we use the SEO value, right? If the SEO value is quite high, over 25 or 30, then usually we can say a more risky proposition, one that will only rank in the bottom of the first page, is going to be a good site. But if it's at $8 or $10, right at that borderline, then the first page evaluation better be a 5. It better be able to rank in the top results.
Yeah, I better be able to own that keyword. If I'm not able to own it, it's probably not worth it as an SEO value of like $10.30. So that we do take that into account when we're doing our first page of evaluation and determining what our chance to rank is. Where we're able to position based on SEO value is critical. Okay, let's get into our third section of questions, which is all about content. What you got, John?
All right, first one's from Brandon W., and he wants to know, do you use push-down images on CTR theme even after the recent Google update?
For those of you that don't know, CTR theme has an option that allows you to use images and push the ads and content down on your page so that only the ads show above the fold. We don't use this approach and we don't recommend it, especially with the new Google algorithm change. But I would say in general, it's just a bad idea because your page looks very spammy, and when somebody gets into it, they're just going to hit the back button and bounce off your page.
Okay, Javier wants to know where you source your images from for your websites.
Well, here's the thing. We want to use keywords with our images, right? So let's say that I'm looking for an image that's about blue suede shoes, right? I may look up blue tennis shoes or other types of shoes, right? Another search term, and then pull that image off of Google Images and then save that image with the keyword that I'm looking to rank for. So blue suede shoes isn't probably the best example, but you kind of see what I'm saying. I'll do a different search and then change the name of the image to something else that I want to rank for and then upload that.
And stay away from sites that are trademarked, or if the images are watermarked or anything like that, stay away from those kind of sites. You don't want to use that because you could get contacted later on as a trademark or a copyright violation.
Yeah, we won't use images that are like specific to one site. Generally, the image has been used on a bunch of different sites, right? So that's typical for us.
Okay, Ian from Spain wants to know how you determine your secondary keywords for your inner pages.
Wow, I think we could do like a whole podcast on secondary keyword research and secondary content.
So here's what we do, right? When we do our original keyword research, we find our primary key phrase, we find our URL. After we've done that, we'll take the primary key phrase, put that back into Longtail Pro, and look for secondary key phrases, right? So whatever secondary key phrases we get that have the right search volume, we don't look at first page competition so much. We look at their search volume, the exact match search, and then we'll pick out 2 of those that we think closely match the primary key phrase and make those secondaries. We have 2 more secondaries that we look for, but we let the content manager determine what the title of those articles are going to be. We don't base it based on exact match search volume. It'll be closely tied to whatever the searcher is looking for when they find the site.
We look at secondary pages and secondary keywords as more of an assist to the primary. We don't really focus on it as in terms of traffic or something like that. We know it's not going to be a big boost.
So if I'm looking for blue ski boots, for example, we may want a bit of content on there that talks about, how to clean ski boots, how to keep them clean in the snow, right? Things like that someone that's looking for ski boots may have an interest in. So it's more about the interest of the searcher rather than exact match search phrases and numbers and that type of thing. Okay, so let's get right into the fourth section, which is questions all about link building.
All right, cool. The first one's from Don, and he wants to know how long after you launch a site do you see it settle in the SERPs, and then also, at what point do you really start the promotion?
Typically, some of our sites, and this is the exception, not the norm, some of our sites will get ranked and start earning money in 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, but that's not typical. Normally, we're looking at somewhere between, 75 to 105 days, so about 3 months for the site to kind of get up there, start getting ranked, and start earning some cash.
Okay, next one's from Kyle P. from the United States, and he wanted to know, would you ever go to Odesk for link building, or is the quality too low?
Would definitely go to Odesk for link building. That's not necessarily a problem. My problem is this. It's scary to use outsourcers for your link building. We'd prefer to use our internal team. And the reason for this is because we don't want to give out all of our sites to some other outsourcer that builds links. I mean, these are the same types of people that are building our types of sites, right? So to give them our entire list of sites is not such a great idea.
Yeah, Justin, but I would say the difference here is you have to distinguish between a virtual assistant and an outsourcer, right? An outsourcer is somebody you just hire to do one particular project. A virtual assistant is someone you have on an ongoing basis as an employee for you and you only, that just happens to be virtual. And that person's okay to give your niches to and, give a little bit of security access, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think someone on Odesk that's a link builder that I'd found or something, not really a problem. If you're talking about outsourcing to someone on the Warrior Forum or something that's looking to build the same types of sites as you, that's probably not such a hot idea.
Okay, next question comes from James from New York, and he wants your thoughts on automated link building tools like AMR, Scrapbox, SE Nuke X, and then he also wants to know if UAW is considered spammy in your opinion.
Okay, so, automated tools, SE Nuke X, Scrapebox, UAW, those things are as spammy as you make them out to be, right? So SE Nuke X, you can do that fairly manually. You can have the 4 or 6 windows open and then go in and manually enter some of the stuff, right? Rather than just have it push button link building for you. In general, we're not fans of automated link building processes.
It's just overkill for niche sites, I think, especially SE Nuke X. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, you can just hammer out the backlinks. And honestly, our types of sites don't really need backlinking like that. Also, I really think that spammy or automated link building practices are probably not the best idea moving forward, especially with all the problems with BMR and other types of networks, and I just really rather avoid that. UAW, it is a bit spammy. I mean, they do submit you to some of the article directories. Some of them are good article directories, and some of them are kind of low-end article directories. They also submit to, a blog network. It's like a public blog network, so a lot of people have added their own blog. It's not like, UAW's own personal blog network, but it's still a blog network, so you have to be a little careful there. We're testing out UAW right now, and we'll definitely be getting back to the results probably in a couple of months and let you know what our thoughts are there.
All right, next one's from Phil V. from London. He wants to know if you focus on social signals for better rankings after the recent Panda update.
No. I mean, honestly, no. Not for our niche sites. I mean, social signals for the niches we're going after is outrageous. I mean, there's no way we need to worry about social signals.
Whenever I stumble upon a niche site, I'm doing some searches and I stumble upon a niche site and I see it has a Twitter and a share this by email and a like me on Facebook, I'm really thinking, what was that guy thinking?
It's weird, right? Blue ski boots. I'm not gonna get all fired up and tweet my friends about a blue ski boot site. I mean,
yeah.
Now I think social signals are really important for authority sites, for things that could potentially go viral, for stuff where it's really, really aggressive, right? So if you're getting a lot of traffic, it's, you run a video site or something like that, you've got some really cool videos, stuff people would like. Yeah, I think social signals is important because you definitely want some things to go viral, that type of thing. But for our types of sites, really not needed. So let's get into the next section, which is questions all about buying and selling websites.
Okay, this is from Mazween from Malaysia, and they wanted to know how much is a website worth if it hasn't made any money yet, and can you still flip it?
I would say not much. I mean, most sites these days are based on monthly revenue. So, if you have a site that doesn't make anything, it's going to be very hard to sell it because most people are not going to be interested in that.
Well, I don't know, Joe. I kind of disagree with that. I mean, yes, for our types of niche AdSense sites, it's going to make a difference on how much they earn. But if you've got a really cool tool on your site, you really built the engineering behind it, and you put a lot of work into this product or something, it has some value outside of its ad revenue or subscriber base or whatever. So
yeah, then I would find a way to monetize that before I tried to sell the site, because you're going to get a lot less for it without making any revenue.
I do agree with that, but here's the thing. We found this with twitart.com, right? If the revenue starts to slide before it gets any worse, sell it off. You're going to get a lower dollar amount because the revenue's slipping, but if you don't plan on putting any more love into the site, that site will fade away to nothing. So at least sell it when you're kind of hot on it, when you're working on it and kind of care. If you start to care less about that site, it's a pretty good time to flip it. Don't let it just kind of die out. That's a bad idea.
Okay, cool. Next one's from Dean, and he wants to know what some of your best website selling tips are.
Best tips for selling a website. We really kind of lay into that on the site, AdSenseFlippers.com. You can go to the section where it talks about selling sites. I would say, especially if you're looking to sell on Flippa, which is the biggest marketplace and you're going to have the most buyers, a couple of things that we use are we look for the golden trifecta on Flippa, which would include being in the most active section. It would include being featured on the first page. I would include being in the ending soon or just started section. If you're in all three of those sections at once, you're in really good shape. Now, the way you do that is to be in the most active section. It requires the most bids. So a great way to do that is start off at $1 with no reserve. Now, a lot of people have reservations about that, right? I don't want to just sell my site for anything. But the fact of the matter is that people are going to give it the value it deserves, right? And if you write honest copy and are very clear in your auction copy, you're going to get what you should get. So put it at $1 reserve and accept every single bid and let it climb. Once you get above the 14, 15 bids, you'll get on the first page of the most active section. You also want to make sure that you're featuring the auction. Definitely feature. You can feature other times throughout the auction depending on what the final value is going to be, because it is kind of expensive. But you can feature and get on the first page within the last 24 hours of your auction, and that'll put you on the ending soon, the most active, and the featured position. That's a great place to be.
Yeah, another good tip for Flippa is have some sort of reputation. Buy and sell some small websites before you go on there and try to do your $10,000 site. Because if you have just a new username, that's not going to be very attractive to buyers. I'd also say if you can build a list of some sort of interested buyers, of people that you can email, especially if you're going to be buying and selling sites on a regular basis, that's a really good thing to build from a marketing perspective. And then the last tip that I would have for you is have a post-sales process in mind about how you're going to migrate the site, how you're going to communicate with the customer, what you're going to ask them, have a template email, all this kind of stuff really helps you look professional.
Yeah, deliver for your clients, right? If you plan on this being a business and not just a one-off sale, you definitely want to make sure you're delivering for the people that are buying from you, because they're the best chance for buying from you again, right? These are people that have already paid you money, that liked what you delivered for them. They're going to come back to you again. So make sure that you deliver, good service.
Do you guys feel like there's a day of the week that's important for when the sale ends, or is that irrelevant?
For us, on Flippa, we put auctions up for about a week. We make sure that it goes over a weekend, and I would end on a weekday. I like to end early morning U.S. time, like Pacific Standard Time. That way they have, because the bidding continues at the end, right? If someone bids in the last 5 minutes, it extends the bid out on Flippa to 4 hours. So I like to have that whole U.S. period, and then when the U.S. day ends, Australia's waking up. So yeah, I would end on a weekday. I'd make sure it goes about a week or so, and make sure it goes over a weekend. You don't want to make the auction too long, like 30 days or something, because the problem is when you just list the Flippa auction, there's going to be some initial interest, right? Because you're on the just listed section. But if they have to wait 30 days, they're going to forget about you. People have lives, they kind of move on from their, Flippa auctions they're watching. Hell, they might even log into Flippa again. But if it's a week, they're probably going to kind of stay interested. They're going to pay attention to what bids are coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's get into our last section here, which is all about scaling and automation.
Okay, Kyle P. from the United States wants to know, will you guys do a webinar that focuses on working with VAs?
Well, here's the thing, Kyle. We're actually thinking about starting a podcast and doing a lot more content on outsourcing in general. So you will hear us speaking a lot more about outsourcing in the future. We probably could do a webinar that's specifically on working with VAs, and we'll keep it in mind.
Yeah, and I also say that we were thinking about doing some smaller webinars with small groups of people, and this would be a great subject to cover as like a workshop with people and show them, step them through the process of training, hiring, that kind of thing.
We could bring in an agent or two and have them speak to some of our VAs and kind of get a feel for how we work too. I think that'd be helpful for a lot of people as well.
All right, Jeff wants to know if you guys use PM software like Basecamp or Deskaway.
Yeah, we do. We use Basecamp. It's good. We don't use it for planning out our niche sites. We just use a big spreadsheet for that. We need to move to a CRM, Justin.
I know, man. We were talking about that forever, right?
But yeah, Basecamp is great for our larger projects, for tracking that on a task basis, for setting up milestones, for making sure we get things done and we stay on track with our business objectives. But it's not great for planning out niche sites. It's just, I can't see using it for that.
I didn't talk to you actually. I listened to a podcast where a guy was talking about how he uses Basecamp for his niche sites. So it's doable. It's just not something we use. Google Docs seems to be much more efficient. It's the way we'd rather do it. And to be honest with you, using Basecamp, we've kind of slacked off on that over the last few months. And our problem was the work of entering the tasks and trying to set it up was taking so much time that it became not worth it. Remember, that was one of our problems when we got started. We talked about that and said, God, if your project management software is so miserable that you just don't want to do it anymore, then what the hell is the point?
Yeah, I wish somebody would build a bridge between Google Apps and Basecamp. So you'd have an automated way to update your tasks and build projects right within the Gmail client. That would be valuable. That's
a sweet idea, man. I mean, these are the types of things, these are real business problems that if someone could help us with or could create, I think they'd find a lot of value. Create a lot of value for a lot of people, actually.
All right, Brian from Miami wants to know, what is the cost to hire a team of 4 to 5 agents with TryBPO to pump out niche sites?
Well, that's a good question. To be honest with you, we're not looking to currently take on teams that are building niche sites for people. I mean, that's not our outsourcing business. Our outsourcing agents aren't used for that purpose currently, and we're not really looking to do that.
Yeah, also, I would say that Justin and I on the outsourcing side, we always have a win-win philosophy, right? We try to look for projects that are going to be not only good for us, but good for the customer too. And I don't think we could provide an ROI. We couldn't make it cheap enough for you that you could hire us and build enough sites for it to be worth it.
Yeah, not to get a large enough return. It'd be close. I mean, and we'd be worried to make sure that we're getting enough margin on every agent to make it profitable, and then making sure that you're getting enough sites, quality sites that you can sell that are making you money. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be a part of that. I'd rather have people do it on their own.
Yeah, I'd rather just focus on making our own sites.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to hire the staff, right, I'd rather add them to our process and build out more sites that we know are going to make us money.
Okay, Jeff from Miami wants to know, can Managed WP manage sites over multiple servers?
Absolutely, yes. You can do that, no problem. I love it. It's a very good program. You should check it out. Yeah, I can do from different providers, different servers, no issue whatsoever.
All right, and last question, James from New York says, with so many niche sites, do you guys use different host servers?
Yeah, that's just one of the things that we started doing last year, midway through last year. We've reduced the number of sites we put on any one hosting server. At one time, it was 200, then I moved it down to 100. Now we're down to about 25 per shared hosting account. So it really depends on how much risk you're willing to do. We always talk about siloing here and separating the sites and making sure there's no way they're all connected. And that's one of the ways we do it, is by setting up a new shared hosting account every 25 or so sites.
I would definitely add to make sure that you're not linking all of your sites together, because now you're building a web that's going to look very similar to a blog network that's spread across multiple hosting accounts, right? That's not a good idea. So no interlinking of your sites. I really wouldn't recommend it, and it's an easy way to cause yourself lots of grief and look like a blog network. You might get taken down similar to BMR. So avoid that. So that's it for the heart of this week's episode. Let's get right into our ninja marketing tips, tricks, and our plans for the future.
The AdSense Flippers Podcast continues.
So the first tip for you is Dropbox, dropbox.com. If you're not using Dropbox, you absolutely must get on this. They just recently doubled their referral bonus to 500 megabytes for free users and 1 gig for pro users. So anyone that you refer to the program, you can get that. I'm gonna be referring all my friends, family. I'm gonna have them sign up just so I can get more storage.
Yeah, because we push our customers to Dropbox, that's how we share our site files and DB dumps with them and all that kind of stuff. So every time a customer signs up for a Dropbox account, I get a referral. So I'm up to like 78 gigs in my Dropbox.
You have a pro account though.
I do have a pro account, but yeah, I mean, I've got so many referral bonuses. Amazing.
I hate you for that. I know that I have like 6 gigs, and it took me like 2 years to get that.
What do you think though about Dropbox? I mean, it's one of those things where it's storage, right? I mean, it's gonna get cheaper, right? They're gonna be able to give out more and more for free. Is it gonna go to free?
I think it has to. I mean, this is one of the premises of Chris Anderson's book, right? This is one of the things he talks about, that it gets more and more, bigger and bigger, and then 5 years from now, you're like, oh, remember they were just giving out 2 gigabytes? Now they're giving out 200.
Yeah, Gmail's similar to that too, where they added just a ton of storage, right? I think that'd be interesting. That's pretty disruptive. Be a Dropbox. You have to have a really smooth, slick UI though. I mean, it has to be smooth. But if you could do that and make it really cheap for people, I mean, why wouldn't people switch over? I'm not stuck with Dropbox. I like them now, but I mean, I would switch, right? So our next upcoming bit of news is we're going to be interviewed on a couple of podcasts here in the near future. We're specifically looking at Niche Pursuits. So Spencer from Niche Pursuits is probably going to have us on his podcast. Additionally, we're looking for other opportunities. So if you know of any podcasts you think you'd like to hear us on, or you think it'd be a really good conversation, please let us know. We're also looking at Joseph Archibald and having him on the program. I know we were emailing a little bit back and forth. I'd really like to talk to him about our link building for our niche sites. I think he can provide a ton of value for us and for our readers and listeners. So I'd really like to hear what he has to say. I mean, our problem is we need a really white hat, non-spammy link building approach that's cheap across a ton of sites, right?
We need an SEO expert to help us with this link building strategy. Someone that has some real knowledge, has done some testing, and has the data to back up any decision or advice that he gives.
Last thing, we are heading to Cebu May 11th through 13th, and we are bringing an entourage, right?
Yeah, baby, it's going to be killer.
We're bringing a whole bunch of people from Davao City, so it'd be really cool. It's me, you, John, a girlfriend. I think we're bringing a maid, right? We're bringing a bunch of friends here, other business owners, and there's going to be a whole bunch of fun going down in Cebu May 11th through 13th.
Chris Ducker, we're coming your way, baby.
Yeah, so that'll be really fun. I think it'd be really interesting to be able to see some of the technical talent, be able to hopefully recruit some guys there, and just kind of hang out with some other expats and business owners that are hanging out in Cebu City. So if you happen to be around, if you're in the Philippines, we'd love to meet up with you when we're in Cebu. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the AdSense Flippers Podcast. We appreciate your being with us. Make sure to check us out at Twitter, at AdSense Flippers. We'd love to hear from you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Adios.
You've been listening to the AdSense Flippers Podcast with Justin and Joe. Be sure to hit up AdSenseFlippers.com for more. That's AdSenseFlippers.com. Thanks for listening.